A friend from China recently suggested that I post videos on AI on Chinese social media sites. Now, I know nothing about these sites, so I asked ChatGPT for a recommendation. And here it is. And it did some good analysis and gave me a clear recommendation: Douyin. It gave me details about the platform, and its reasoning was plausible. But on closer inspection, I found this line: users expect fast, polished, trend led videos. That's not really my style. Then I opened a new chat and gave it a prompt in a format known as Race. Now it recommended TikTok, the international version of Douyin. It told me explicitly to use the same calm, practical explanation format that I take here on YouTube, and it explicitly said, do not imitate polished trend creators. Look, AI knows more about this than me. It would have been perfectly reasonable to go with Douyin as the first chat suggested. And if that's what you'd have done, you'd have been right to. But the race response is specific to me. I'm going to walk you through the race method, and when we're done, you'll be able to get AI to give the answer that's best for you. So, what is race anyhow? Now, the first chat did give me a detailed analysis. I had actually given it some research reports. It read those, did exactly what I wanted. The problem is, it had nothing to do with me. It focused entirely on the platforms. The race method will allow you to have the AI focus the task on you and your problem. Now, RACE is an acronym that specifies the four important phases when performing a task. So, how would you specify a task for a new collaborator? Well, first of all, you'd make sure that they have the skills and experience to do it, that they could fulfill the role. You would probably have to give them some idea roughly what to do. Now, they're going to figure out the best way, but you want to specify the phases and the actions. Now, you want to provide them with information, with context, anything that might help them, perhaps even specific knowledge that they might not already have. And lastly, you'd want to give your expectations, what they should use, what they should not use, and if they're giving you something, specify the format. So we're going to look at each component of race in turn. Now, the role is where you're going to specify what the AI is, the persona. And this is very important in 2026 to shape the lens that it looks from and how it responds. So in the past, people have used roles like you are a helpful AI assistant, which serves no purpose whatsoever. You can give it a profession-based role. So for example, you are a technical writer. Right, because that takes the AI, all its information that is read from the web, and it narrows it down to that particular thing. How would that professional think? How would they communicate? You can also give it attribute-based roles, like the level of rigor. Is it meticulous? The tone, is it a mean-spirited critic, or is it a compassionate mentor? So let's take a look at the role section of my prompt. And here it is. And you can see the first thing I do is I give it an attribute. It's pragmatic. I give it a profession and capability. It's a direct digital marketing strategist who specializes in creator growth and time to market efficiency. I give it a goal. And look, in just 2 sentences, I've specified who I want it to act as. Now, you can make these as complex or simple as you want. One thing I want to warn you against: assigning roles that are defined by social or demographic data like age, gender, ethnicity. Bad idea, because there are stereotypes in the training data, all the stuff that it's read from the web, and this can lead to biases, which can lead to really bad results. And look, as a former data scientist, I can tell you that biases in data are a big problem and they're hard to detect. Stay away from these types of descriptors when you're specifying a role. Now, if you're giving AI a reasonably sized task, it's in your best interest to break it into subtasks, into phases. This is how you have it leverage your expertise or even common sense. Now, you don't have to give it the specific details on how to do it. We've already established in the role that it has some capability, but it's useful for you to break it into phases and specify the inputs and outputs for each phase. That is, you're doing a phase, you want to make sure that the information is available for it to do it, and it produces outputs that are going to be used by all the following phases. And if you do not specify these phases, you run the risk of it skipping steps. Some best practices for how to write the actions section. You want to use specific, what they called imperative verbs. I think of them as sort of bossy verbs. So classify, extract, rewrite. You don't want to use any vague verbs. There should be no room for interpretation. And avoid the temptation to use conversational verbs like, can you help me with? So let's look at the action section of my prompt. And you can see here, analyze, select exactly one, disqualify the other platforms with specific rationales grounded in the text, right? I am very specific. I'm giving it strong imperative verbs. I want it to be very clear about what I want it to do. The information that we provide AI with is the context. Look, AI has read the entire internet, right? But the most relevant information for this task, you want it in the chat because the AI will prioritize that over everything else it's read. If you consider information from some sources to be more important or reputable than others, put that in the chat. This is also your opportunity to put any confidential or non-public information in there that it wouldn't have seen before. And it really helps to tell it your motivation. Why are you asking it to do this in the first place? Because you're never going to be able to specify the task completely. There's going to be some gaps. The AI is going to try to fill those in. It'll do a better job if you tell it why. So what I want you to get here is context is not background. It's disambiguation. And also specify the audience, which is the user, which is you, right? Something about you. So let's look at my prompt. And here is the context. And you can see creator profile, 56-year-old Caucasian solo educational creator talking about AI. Note that I do specify Caucasian here because I'm Caucasian, right? It's a fact. You can specify demographic information here in context, not in role. Target audience, I put TBD, although my friend who encouraged me to look at Chinese social media suggested that maybe I target this towards school-age children. Her idea being that Chinese parents will pay big money to make sure their kids get ahead in school. Specify that I only speak English, I'm in the United States, I have low, modest production values, and I want this to be low effort. Something else very useful, if you have it, if you've already tried something, tell the AI what you've tried so that it doesn't try it too. It doesn't waste time on things that don't work. Especially useful is if you know those things that didn't work, why did it fail? And give the AI that, because that will give it a deeper understanding of why some solutions just don't work. If you want AI to give you an output that you're happy with, it's very useful to give it your expectations. So this can include things like constraints, like only use data from 2025 onward. But especially you want to tell it what good looks like, because that will allow the AI to validate its response before it gives it to you. And also be specific. If you want the output to be in a certain format, you got to spell that out. Like if you're going to ask it to do a table, you really do have to specify what the rows and what the columns are going to be. So let's look at my prompt. And you can see right here, I say, I want your output to adhere to the ASD STE 100 standard. You don't need to know what that is. It's basically a way to convey detailed information in simple, easy to read text. I give it the structure that I want. I want the recommendation up front. I want you to tell me why you ruled out other ones. And I want you to give me a 3-step action plan. Vague success criterion gets you vague, unpredictable results that you won't be happy with. AI will have to redo it. You'll have to check those. Be as specific about what you want right up front in the expectations section. Now let's look at what the AI gave me when I gave it the race prompt. So again, it told me to use TikTok. And it says one reason for that is that TikTok actively highlights US educational creators. That's me. And it also gives a link to the actual source so I can check that. Once again, it told me to leverage my strengths, calm, practical explanations, do not imitate polished trend creators. Interestingly enough, here it says do not target school aged children. Parents are the ones who are paying for it, so target them. This is useful information. This isn't just an answer. This actually changes my approach. It goes through and disqualifies the other platforms using information in my prompt. It's too much friction for an English only US solo creator. Down here it says this platform conflicts with the creator's low overhead tutorial format. And it gives me that 3-step plan. Note that step number 1 is specifying who the audience is because I said TBD. I thought kids might be it. It's already nixed that. It's told me to take my existing YouTube videos and chop it up into pieces. Well, that's great. I don't have to record anything new. That saves me effort and time. And then it recommends publishing 3 clips per week on TikTok for 4 weeks. So what Race really buys me is that I specified my situation, so I got tailored advice. I thought it would tell me to post on TikTok every day. It didn't. Look, AI is smart, but partnering with it is essential to get tailored responses. And we did this together. This win is mine as much as it belongs to the AI. So when you shift from using AI to partnering, it amplifies and expands what you can do. The key point is that this isn't about better prompts. It's that a person on their own, no budget, no team, can now get advice specific to their situation. And this was not available to us before. So thank you for watching. Any questions, comments, put them below. I will respond to everyone. I will see you next time. Have a great day.